All right, college football and stuff here. It is week 12 of the 2021 college football season. Almost to the end. I can't believe it's so close, but we got some good games to finish up the season. A couple more weeks, bowls, and then it's another big wait until the 2022 season. All right, getting right into the games. First up, I'm talking about Michigan State at Ohio State. A nice top 10 matchup in the Big Ten. Ohio State, a 19-point favorite in this game. I think this is going to be a tough matchup for Michigan State. They have a good rush defense, but not a great pass defense. And I expect Ohio State to be able to find some success on offense here. I think Ohio State is just they are one of the best offenses in all of college football. I think explosive play wise, they're number one. I think they're like number three in overall offense. I think Michigan State has a tough ask here trying to slow that down. Um, it's also a home game for Ohio State, who still has playoff hopes. I think they're going to be up for this game. I think they're going to be ready for this game. I do think Michigan State will have some success on offense as well. Ohio State's defense is okay. It's not amazing. Um, I think they possibly have a good enough defense to scare some of these top teams. I think they have the kind of offense that could scare a team like Georgia, who hasn't had to score a bunch of points. If they go up against a team like Ohio State, and Ohio State is able to move the ball and score some points, I think that's a scary game for Georgia. Um, so I think Ohio State is going to be a tough team here. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think both of these teams are going to find a way to put up points. I don't think Michigan State puts up enough to get a win, though. I do think they're going to be able to score. I think both of these teams score. I think the line is close to where it should be, but maybe just a little bit too high. In my mind, this is closer to a two-score game than a three-score game. I really think 14, maybe 17 points is where we see this end up. I think 19 or 20, 21 is just a little bit too much. I think Michigan State is going to have just enough to keep that about a two-score game. I think this is one of those games where Ohio State gets a two-score lead and Michigan State scores points, but Ohio State just finds a way to keep that a two-score lead the whole game. I think they get a touchdown when they need it each time to keep that gap there. And I don't think Michigan State has enough to get completely back in the game. I think they make it a game, but I think Ohio State keeps that gap here. Spread-wise, I'm taking Michigan State plus the 19. I'm not super confident in that, though. I think the best bet on this game, I didn't write down what the over was. I should have. I think taking the over is if you're going to bet this game, I probably wouldn't touch that spread. I would just bet the over. I think it's about 68 points. I think that's going to be a pretty easy thing. I think we see something like 30 something to 40 something in this game. I think is about what we see. Ohio State getting in the mid to high 40s and Michigan State getting about 30. All right, next up, Wake Forest at Clemson. Clemson, a 4.5 point favorite. surprised and not surprised to see Clemson being the favorite here. Now, Wake Forest is a team that was ranked really highly, is still ranked fairly high, is one loss. Clemson is unranked, and they are the favorite by more than home field advantage should give you here. I think this is because Wake Forest has really struggled on defense. They've won games by outscoring their opponent, and I think that's a tough thing to do against a Clemson team whose defense has still been playing really well. They have not given up a bunch of points in any of their games this season. They've been the reason they've been as close as they have to winning games, and really the only reason they've won some of those early games. Clemson's offense has looked horrible, and their defense has been carrying the team. I don't know if Wake Forest can find success on offense. I I really don't. But if they do, I also don't see really how Clemson keeps up. Maybe they can. Again, Wake Forest defense has not been good. I think this is a really weird game where we have strength on strength and weakness on weakness, where Wake Forest obvious strength is their offense, and that's Clemson's biggest weakness is their offense. And Wake Forest's biggest weakness is their defense, and Clemson's biggest strength is their defense. So we see this weird thing where you've got Wake Forest's best unit, their offense, going up against Clemson's best unit, and Wake Forest's worst unit going up against Clemson's worst unit. I think this is going to come down to which of these teams' weaknesses is worse. Is Wake Forest's defense worse than Clemson's offense? I really don't know there. I mean, it's interesting. We've seen a Wake Forest defense that hasn't seemed like they can stop anyone, and a Clemson offense that hasn't seemed like they can score points on anybody. Well, I won't say that. So, the reason I think this spread kind of makes sense is Clemson has shown in a few games playing against bad defenses or overmatched teams, they have put up points. So I kind of wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into kind of a shootout. I think there's always a chance that we see a breakout game from Clemson here where their defense plays just as well as we've seen them play, and they really limit Wake Forest. And Wake Forest defense can't stop Clemson from scoring points. But I really, really do not know. That's one of the reasons why I want to talk about this game. I think this game is going to be really interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised by Clemson winning this game. It's at home for them. I think their defense is that good. I think Wake Forest defense is that bad. But I think the 4.5 is maybe a little bit too much. So I think it really depends on how this game goes. If this game becomes a high-scoring game, I think this spread is off. I think either it's a high-scoring game where Clemson is able to put up good points and able to shut down Wake a little bit, or it's the opposite and Wake is scoring on demand and we end up with a game where 7 points is the difference, where these teams trade touchdowns. If this is a close game, if this is a low-scoring game, I think the spread is too high because all these low-scoring games Clemson has been playing, it's like a 20-17 type game. And I think they could win that game, but I think they're winning by 3 points in that case. I really, really don't know where this is going to be. I'm going to take Wake plus the points here. I'm kind of expecting this to be another. I really don't know. This is going to go one of two ways. This is going to be a low-scoring game where the teams play really close, both of them under 20, and we see a 3-point win by somebody. Or it's going to be a really high-scoring game and we see a touchdown win by somebody. I have no idea how that's going to go. I'm taking Wake plus the points here, though. A nice upset win for Wake in that case, even though Wake is much higher ranked than Clemson is. Next up, the Big 12, Iowa State at Oklahoma. Oklahoma, 3.5-point favorite. Both of these teams coming off disappointing losses. Oklahoma did not look great against Baylor last week, and Iowa State losing a weird game against Texas Tech after just annihilating Texas the week before. I have to wonder if that was a letdown game for them, if that was just sort of a trap game where they were really up for the Texas game and really looking ahead at the Oklahoma game and completely overlooked a Texas Tech team that has not been very good, that fired their coach. I really don't know. Texas Tech put up way too many points against Iowa State and really, really had success running the ball in that game. This game is at Oklahoma. I think Iowa State is a good balanced team, but I just don't know what Iowa State team we're going to see. Are we going to see the Iowa State team that blew away Texas? Are we going to see the Iowa State team that lost to West Virginia and Texas Tech? I don't know. Does Oklahoma have 2 down games in a row? I don't really see that. I don't think they lose 2 in a row, especially not coming back at home. But I don't think Oklahoma really has a good shot at the playoffs anymore. I think that loss really knocked them out. The committee does not seem to value Oklahoma's wins. They have a bunch of close games, a bunch of comeback wins. Does being at home spark something, or have they given up because of where they're ranked and feeling like they don't have a shot at the playoffs? Or is there some urgency in the team now, feeling disrespected? I think if Oklahoma has any shot at the playoffs, they've got to get some help from some teams ahead of them losing, and they've got to get some big blowout wins. I think it might be too late for that. I don't know if they can get that done. I really think this game is kind of a toss-up. On a neutral field, I probably would take Iowa State. I think home field is probably about a field goal, probably 2 to 3 points. I really wish this spread was a little bit smaller because I want to take Oklahoma in this game. I can absolutely see Oklahoma winning by a field goal here, though. But again, even in their comeback wins, Oklahoma has ended up winning by more than 3 points. I'm absolutely not sure about this game. I'm 100% just going with my gut here. My gut tells me to take Oklahoma in a bounce-back win at home. Give me Oklahoma minus the 3.5 points. All right, going on to an SEC matchup. Auburn, a 7.5-point favorite on the road at South Carolina. Now, I was at the Auburn game last week. I had absolutely amazing seats that a friend of mine gave me because it was my birthday last week. And man, that was a tough game to watch. A little bit about that game. I don't want to blame the refs. I'm not one of those fans. Auburn deserved to lose that game. They did not play well after the first quarter. Their defense did not make adjustments when they needed to. The offense completely stalled out. But man, those two targeting calls, I'm still upset by. I'm not one of those people who thinks that targeting is a horrible addition to the game. We have to protect the players. We can't have, people shouldn't be suffering lifetime brain injuries from playing a sport. That's not something that should be happening. We should make the game safer for people. But I do not see how that call on Mississippi State against Kobe Hudson isn't targeting, and the one against TD Moultrie was. I think either both of those have to be targeting or both of those have to be not targeting. You can't have one be it and the other one not be it. We got to have consistency in these targeting calls. I think that's the biggest issue with the whole targeting thing right now. There needs to be absolutely cut and dry for if you're ejecting a player, and especially in close games like this, you've got to have a set thing that you follow. You can't say the defender was making a play on the ball and it's okay that he hit a guy in the helmet who was a defenseless player in the process of trying to make a catch. And there are reports that Kobe Hudson might have a concussion and might not even be playing. There's absolutely no way you can say, oh, he was making a play on the ball, it's okay that that happened, and then have a defensive line player get called for targeting who kept his head up, who hit a quarterback face mask to face mask because he was making a play on the ball, because he thought the quarterback was going to throw it. You can't have that. You can't have that. So Auburn is without Bo Nix and without their kicker, Anders Carlson. I think those are two huge losses for Auburn. And this is an Auburn team that went to South Carolina last year and lost. Now, they lost because Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions in that game. And we'll see what happens here. Now, also last year, TJ Finley went and played his first start for LSU on the road at South Carolina and looked really good, threw the ball all over him. So I really don't know what to think about this game. Auburn is the more talented team. Auburn should win this game in theory. But those 2 losses are a really big thing for Auburn, especially in the red zone when it comes to red zone efficiency. Auburn was really taking advantage of Bo Nix running the ball in the red zone, and that's not going to be a thing that TJ Finley does. I'm not expecting to see that. And we have not seen anything from these Auburn kickers. I think this could be a big issue for Auburn, where they have trouble moving the ball in the red zone, and they could have some issues kicking field goals. This could lead to some drives that otherwise would have turned into a touchdown or at least a field goal, resulting in 0 points, which could be a huge, huge issue. I think this is a must-win game for Auburn, though. I think Auburn can get it done, and I think it could be a big win if we see TJ Finley have some success throwing the ball. I don't trust Auburn with the spread being over a touchdown, though. I think this is something that could go either way. I could see Auburn winning by a touchdown or less. I could see Auburn winning by several scores as well. But I think pick-wise, I have to take South Carolina here. They're a primetime home underdog. It's a pretty big spread. These offensive issues for Auburn really have me worried as far as red zone efficiency and their ability to turn yards into points. So I'm going to take South Carolina plus 7.5 in this game. All right, last up, the Pac-12, Oregon at Utah. Utah, a 3-point favorite. Now, both of these teams have looked better recently after some weird up and down issues early on in the season. I was really high on Oregon last year when they went and played Utah in, I think it was last year, maybe it was the year before, when they played Utah in the Pac-12 championship, and Utah absolutely rolled them. Does that happen again? I know it's a whole new season, but man, that was, I really, really thought, no, that was the other way around. I'm completely getting that game backwards. Yeah, I thought Utah was going to win that game, and Oregon killed them. Kept Utah out of the playoffs there. I don't know about this game. So Utah has some injuries on the O-line. They don't know if their starting running back is going to be playing. And Thibodeau for Oregon is such a good player. Again, please watch Oregon's games just to see him play. He is so good. I think Utah might have enough on offense to get the job done, but I don't know how much these injuries are going to affect them. I think the best way to take Thibodeau out of the game is to run directly at him, get a lineman or two on him, and get past him. If you're trying to throw the ball a whole bunch, I don't think that's going to work well. I think Utah has to get their run game going, has to eliminate that rush, because you were not keeping Thibodeau back for that long. How weird thing for Utah, that game they played last week against Arizona was way closer than it should have been. Arizona has not been a good team. Utah should have won that game by a lot more. I think this is going to be an interesting game. I think both of these teams have a shot here. I'm going to try to ignore injury talk. I think assuming we have two healthy teams here, that Utah and their run game can get it done against Oregon. I'm going to take Oregon. No, I'm going to take Utah to win the game here. I'm taking them minus the 3. I'm taking them to keep the Pac-12 out of the playoffs again, because Oregon is the only one with a shot, and they do not have a shot as a 2-loss team. I mean, Utah, minus the 3 points there. All right, that's it for my picks this week. Let me know in the comments if you think I got any of these wrong or what your picks are. Hope you enjoy the games. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.